Good morning, everybody. This is Lee Brower here, and welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am glad to be here, and I am grateful to be here. You know, a couple of years ago, I was reading a book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And what a great book. This is, I actually listened to it in audiobook first, but this book was written in 1938. Many of you have probably read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That was written in 1937. So in 1938, he wrote a book that he claimed that he had the opportunity to interview the devil. And this was the condition. The devil had to answer every question with truth. Other than that, and he had to answer it honestly. He had to give the true answer. And and Napoleon said in the book, you decide whether or not I really had an interview with the devil or not. But what happened was, after writing it, his wife saw it, and she says, "Oh, Napoleon, you can't publish that. I'm not going to let you, because you will offend the politicians, you'll offend the educators, you'll offend the religious leaders and the business leaders. You can't publish that." So the book sat in mothballs for years, for decades, until finally, in I think 2010, it was finally released from their foundation. And as I read and listened to that book, I felt like it was written for today. I encourage all of you, if you have the opportunity, it's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And it was a book that literally was shelved for some almost 70 years before it was, or over 70 years before it was released to the public. And you'll feel like it was written for us today. But one of the things that he talks about in his interview with the devil is that, the devil said, well, the majority of the people, his greatest tool is that we're drifters. And that we move in one direction and we start drifting in the other. Our ability to hold tight to what we agree to what we're thinking about, to what we value most, causes us to drift. And he talked about the tools that he has for drifters. And I think that's where maybe some of the politicians and religious leaders, when they said what they said, might have been offended. But in today, when we have the opportunity to look back and actually see where we are and to see what he was predicting at the time, is pretty eye-opening. So how do we keep from being drifters? Years ago, one of the founders of Franklin Company, Hyrum Smith, one of his quotes that I'll always remember is, he says, character is the ability to carry out a worthwhile decision once the emotion of making that decision has passed. So again, character is the ability to carry out a worthwhile decision once the emotion of making that decision has passed. And as I've thought about it many, many times and had conversations about it, that's probably a pretty good definition. I think, however, there's more to character than just that. When you really look at character and we look at life itself, it really is the underpinning of everything that we do. Character determines our choices. Our choices determine our lives and the direction that we go in life. Yes and no lead in opposite directions and determine the course of our lives. So do we have the character to make decisions based upon our principles, based upon those things that we know are right? Or do we base it upon circumstances? Because really there are just two patterns for making decisions in life. One, decisions based upon circumstance, and the second one based upon principles of eternal truth. Now, in today's world, unfortunately, especially with our leaders, as we look around into others, what are others doing? That seems to be something that motivates our decisions. What seems to be socially or politically acceptable? What will bring the quickest, most satisfying response? And that gives the broadest opportunity to an individual to make decisions that will be harmful, destructive, even though in the moment they may be appealing when the decision is made. So there's an underlying set of values or standards to consistently guide decisions. And I've said, you probably have heard me say many times, that within the Powered Wealth mindset is not about saying what values we possess, but identifying those principles. The difference between values and principles is that it's impossible for two people on this planet to have the same identical values. But principles are where we can agree to certain principles. Those are decisions or agreements that this is how we agree to make decisions going forward. If we understand for us the eternal truths, if we understand for us what is in our best interest, then we can make decisions based upon what is in our best interest, not based upon what the current circumstances are. What does the world need now in terms of leadership? What are the leaders looking for? And as exceptional leaders yourself, you are sorely needed. There's an urgent need for more men and women like you to stand up for the principles against growing pressures to compromise those various principles. We need men and women who will act nobly and courageously for what we know is right, not for what is politically correct or socially acceptable. We need individuals who have spiritual, righteous influence that will motivate others to live honorably. We need statesmen with integrity, businessmen who are honest and morally clean, attorneys who defend justice in the legal system, and government officials who preserve principles because it's right. Above all, we need mothers and fathers who will preserve the sanctity and safety of the home and the integrity of the family, because that is the foundation of a productive life. You can be an essential part of that light, of that shining light, that righteous influence to increase the moral fiber of your nation and its homes. Many of your friends live their life for the moment. They do not understand the need for principles, eternal laws, and truth. They've been brought up in an environment in which decisions are made on the basis of today's circumstances or tomorrow's opportunities for gain. Show them a better life. Show them a better way. Everything that we're focused on in Empowered Wealth, I'm driven by the fact that if we can strengthen families from the bottom up, from the roots up, one family at a time, we will then influence their co-workers, their teams, their vendors, their customers, their community that they live in. Think about that definition of character this week. Ask yourself, are you making decisions based upon circumstances, or are you making decisions based upon what you know is right, what you know is morally right and aligned with your vision of the future and those things that you know are right for you? I think you're making the right decisions. Let's build a stronger planet. Let's help have a more meaningful life for ourselves and for others. I look forward to talking to you next Monday. Bye-bye.